It's very risky to quit drinking cold turkey. Those are the words of me, Dr. Cappy. And it often refers to people that are really in the throes of it and experiencing severe withdrawal, in which case they say you need to seek medical help to prevent, seizures, tremors, etc. But I'm actually in this case talking about just trying to quit without any alternatives can be very risky, especially if you're in a bar environment and you plan to go there and just not drink soda water or a mocktail, but not have any other options. And some don't, especially if mocktail's not even an option for you. So for me, when I was trying to quit, I used a variety of things. And because my accountability partner and I, we came up with a ABB, anything but booze or cocaine and the like. Because those are things that they hit your dopamine system the same way that alcohol does. And they say you'll get just as addicted to those as to the others. And thank God I never even ever tried those. But for me, when I did my final day 2, now 13 months ago, I had to still return to my pizza shop, my biggest trigger with a liquor store 50 yards away. So, I used dip, i.e. chewing tobacco, which is a habit I got into at my first sales job. Luckily, I had no real addiction to it other than when I was making cold calls. And I did start doing it at my pizza shop to prevent me from drinking, even though essentially you put it under your lip. So I had to really smooth it out to try to make it not obvious. I should have started with coffee. Coffee is a big one. That's why at AA meetings, they always have the big pot of coffee. That is a very common alternative. And I think a great one. I say, get obsessed with coffee. Buy one of those Nespresso machines or a French press, and really get into it. So you really become a connoisseur, just like people become wine connoisseurs. Do it with coffee, And same thing. Might develop an over dependence on it, an addiction, but it's one you can beat. You're not going to get a DWC, driving while caffeinated. And you can slowly wean yourself out. I now just drink half calf. I still use it as a bit of a crutch, but it's a good sober problem to have. I also got into kombucha. Very good. And it's an alternative, especially if, say, I was having a dinner guest or someone over. I put some kombucha in a wine glass. Worked great. I actually went to my college reunion, but filled a couple 16 or 20 ounce Gatorade bottles with kombucha because it was at a brewery, which I assumed wasn't really going to have any NA options. Gummies or a vape pen. THC, again, this is just amateur view. That can be dangerous for some. I never had an addiction to, pot. And that's one reason I knew when I'd smoke pot, I know what a normal drinker felt like because I could take one hit of pot and be good for hours. Just like a normal drinker can take one drink. My father's a Bloody Mary at breakfast. He's good all day. So that can be a dangerous one. I know some people then struggled with the cross addiction, which is a big term, and then had to get themselves off of that. To me, still, even if I got addicted to it, it wasn't a voice that triggered me to wake up out of bed and start, smoking pot or doing gummies or what have you. So it depends. Everybody's different. So you do have to be careful, but I definitely recommend it. Last time I quit drinking long ago for 3.5 years, I used kava, calm with kava. Someone was just talking about that on a call recently. Kind of tastes like dirt, which is why I still have it here. But it's supposed to have a relaxing effect on you. A woman actually shared a call recently. She wondered if it was okay to be using that. And my response was, to me, again, just to me, yes. Because like anxiety medication, which I also have taken, it hits your GABA system. And that is your system that relaxes you. It's a neurotransmitter system that reduces neuron excitability. So again, it has a calming effect. It does also hit your dopamine system, or most anxiety meds will also hit it, but not in the same way as alcohol, where it just crushes that system. Back to the original premise of that it's, to me, dangerous to go cold turkey, to just come up with alternatives. So if you do get triggered, you do get, a craving, especially if you're in a bar, a social setting, you have other alternatives besides just hitting the easy button and drinking. Anxiety, again, to each their own. In my case, my doctor prescribed me Klonopin long ago. I'd asked him for when I got anxious, if I was going to do a sales presentation when I was in sales, I could take that to relax me. I didn't get hooked on it to the point I wanted to take it night and day. It's a different, because it mainly hits your GABA system. It doesn't hit your dopamine system the way alcohol did. Totally different kind of buzz. To the point when I was trying to quit alcohol, I'd say every day, just take that at the pizza shop. But I'd always talk myself into drinking instead because it is a different kind of buzz. But of course, it only ever worked, the drinking, for 20 minutes and then, upped my anxiety. So everyone should consider that, on their own. When I went to my college reunion, I mentioned bringing kombucha. I also brought a Klonopin. And I walked in and I got more overwhelmed than I expected. And, old days, I might have just hit the easy button and started drinking. But instead, I had a Klonopin on me and I popped it. Just 1 milligram for someone of my energy level, almost just a placebo effect almost. But, it is a tranquilizer. It does have a tranquilizing effect. And it did help me, get through that. And before I know it, I, ran into a couple I enjoyed and felt relaxed, and I was great the rest of the night. I closed the place. I felt so good. So again, everybody's different, but I think you need to have some alternatives besides all or nothing. Oh, and NA beers was one other one. There was a time when I was quitting that I would pound a couple NA beers, especially on a Friday night in my shop, and that just made me feel a little better and get over that craving. So, and then food's another great one, actually. One woman said when she got a craving, she'd say, well, I guess I just got to dive into that big bowl of ice cream. So that's always great. And as far as other craving overcomers, I always recommend, if you're at home, a shower, particularly with a cold shower finish, or even a bath. A woman said, hey, if I'm in the bathtub, I can't be at the liquor store. And there's an old school commercial for Calgon bubble bath where the woman's in the tub and they say, Calgon, take me away. Essentially numbing out, which is what a lot of people drink for. So, these are just some ideas. The point is you've got to have a prevention plan that's more than just the two extremes of, the hard, going totally cold turkey using 100% willpower, which is a limited resource, or the other extreme of just hitting the easy button and slipping. And by the way, when I left my pizza shop now 7+ months ago, I did have to start working on those cross addictions. Right away I said, that's it. I'm done with the chewing tobacco dipping habit, which I would do at home in the case of like dating screening calls. The first time you connect with someone, got to do a cold call. I couldn't even do one of those without throwing a dip in if I wasn't drinking. And usually when I was drinking, I had to dip anyway because, again, it only worked for 20 minutes and triggered anxiety. So, I got off of that right away, started doing hard things sober, including those calls without it. I did develop a reliance on the Klonopin anxiety meds just for things like sharing, even a sobriety call in the morning. I started maybe doing a half a pill, or when I started doing these videos, I would take one. But you know what I found out? It made my face super red. So that actually gave me great incentive to cut that out. And I'm now proud to say I wish I tracked it, 3-4 months that I've been super sober. And there's no hurry to get to that, but that was my eventual goal. And it's been great. And there's times I'm like, I'd love, now instead of at least saying, I'd love to drink and numb out, it's like, wouldn't mind taking a Klonopin just to relax myself. But I say, no, if you need to, get in that cold shower. That works every single time. Relaxer, mood enhancer, craving overcomer. So that'll do it. As always, remember, stronger, sober, and please like, share, subscribe. Thanks.